Welcome to Food and Loathing. You know the routine. We visit restaurants. We speak to chefs. We eat. We get together and talk about it in podcast form. Pretty fucking simple, really. So anyway, this is Food and Loathing, hosted by myself, Al Mancini, Las Vegas food writer Gemini Stevens, and radio veteran Rich Johnson is producing it for the two of us. We cannot always be together in person, but we try to get together in one form or another as often as we're all available. This is one of those really fun weeks where you get all three of us reporting from three different cities. Rich is in Paris, and we definitely want to hear about food in Paris, even though I know y'all are not going to be able to get into these specific restaurants, but I do. This is like, you know, an American Yankee in King Arthur's court or something, man. He's going to engage in witchcraft over there. I don't know what's going to happen, but yeah, Rich is in Paris, so we're going to hear about that. Gemini's in Oklahoma City, but I think you know have some food stories from Vegas,
I do.
right, Gem?
Absolutely.
Cool. And I'm here in Vegas holding down the fort, man. We've got a lot going on. How's everybody doing there? What's everybody having fun in their respective cities?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm worried about you and holding down the fort only in that it's probably literal, because doesn't Vegas have like huge wind right now?
Oh, Jesus Christ, man. The dog was freaking out last night.
Check
man.
on my roof, please.
A pit bull who's afraid of wind, man. And Ziggy, like, yeah, all night long, he wanted me to go outside and yell at the wind. Wake me up to go yell at the fucking wind for him.
Yeah.
So, yes, is this monsoon season?
Get into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, I think it's May, June, July, something like that. So yeah, getting closer.
I never thought I'd live someplace with monsoon season. I thought that was
Especially a place like the high desert.
Yeah.
I thought it was Gilligan's Island shit, monsoon season, but no, we have one, man. Yeah, guys, I got a lot to tell you about. I know you're going to want to hear about my visit to Bar Boheme, James Tree's new restaurant. Did a little preview there, so that was a blast. A lot of fun stuff. I'm going to try to keep mine to a minimum, or at least keep it quick, because I was just out. I've been out events just about every day since last we spoke, usually 2 things a night. So we'll try to keep it tight. But yeah, we have a fantastic show for everybody this week. In addition to going over to James's new restaurant, I visited the big anniversary celebration for the Women's Hospitality Initiative held this week at Wynn, Las Vegas. So I'll share some interviews I conducted with Lorena, Garcia, Elizabeth Blau, and Nina Manchev. They'll be near the center of the show. What else? Also in the center of the show, an extended interview with Bryce Krausman reflecting on DW Bistro's extraordinary 15-year run as he prepares to throw one last party at the restaurant this coming weekend. Elsewhere in the episode, you're going to hear from Blue Ribbon's Bruce Bromberg talking about his recent collaborative dinner with Sheldon Simeon at Ortikia and Green Valley Ranch. 2 representatives of Click Hospitality we've got talking about Brunch Club at Bottiglia. Dan Krohmer reflecting on 10 years of Other Mama. Robert Lomeli talking about Atomic Golf's new lunch special. And the M Resort's Michael Credico explaining their new poolside venue, Patio. And I may have still forgotten some shit. There's a lot going on.
Lordy, yeah.
What you won't hear this week will be that extended interview with Prime Steakhouse's Sean Griffin that I teased last week. There's just too much going on. We don't have room for it. That one's a little closer to what we call evergreen, which means if I push it a week, it'll still make sense.
Yeah.
Prime Steakhouse will still be shiny and new, and you're still going to want to eat there, and it's still going to be awesome. So I'm going to push that back a little bit. Anyway, before that, we talk about where we dine. So let's just kick into it. We're mostly going to limit this to Las Vegas restaurants, but we also want to hear, we need to know about how our fast food addict, Rich Johnson, has been dining in Europe. Let's move right into that. Rich, actually, you wait for a minute, because I'm going to hear from Gemini first this week. Keep us a little grounded in Vegas, and then you can tell me all about the Royale McCheese and the McDonald's.
I love it. I love it.
Gemini, what's cooking?
Well, I don't think I brought it up, so I'll be brief about it. But when I was there last during my long trip, I did get to go to a wine dinner at Anima. That was really fantastic. It was with Breda Wines. I'll put the menu on my socials because I know we both want to save time. But if you love Anima, you know what you're getting, right? So the bites were perfect. They were put together with the wines brilliantly. We ended up sitting next to another chef and his wife and sharing notes and sharing sips because somebody would have this wine and say, "Oh, you got to try it with this dish." Just a shout out to everybody at Anima, and that's not just Roberto. That's Oscar, that's everybody in the kitchen. They're doing really, really amazing things over there. And if you haven't been to a wine dinner, go because it's not your typical menu. They always do something special. So I can't even tell you to go and get this particular dish.
Yeah, I
Um,
know, right? That's always I've got some specialty menus this
yeah.
week to talk about, and there's not much I can tell y'all,
No.
but I think the wine dinner series at Anima is something that
Oh,
people need to keep in mind. If you haven't been to Anima by
yeah.
EVO, for me, this is a restaurant that really should have gotten a James Beard Award or
Oh,
at least a little much closer look than it got. I think it's
yeah.
one of the cooler restaurants in Las Vegas right now, and they do a fantastic wine dinner series.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so much attention to detail. So yeah, put this on your radar. Go and check them out. Different wines all the time. They bring the winemakers in, you get the stories, and you get a dish that goes with that. And honestly, I don't think that anybody does as many wine dinners as they do and keeping it so tight and amazing in town. Like they've got it dialed in.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to throw that out there. I went to Sushi Tower, which I hadn't been to in a long time. I usually go. I know Rich has been to Sushi Tanuki, which is close to my house. Sushi Tower was
Sushi
really good.
Tower.
Sushi Tower. Um,
What part of
uh,
town are we
that
talking about?
is in Summerlin-ish area. I think it's called Spring Valley. It's like on the outside, but um,
Okay. Is it actually a tower, or is it just
I
in a
know I was kind of
is it
disappointed,
Sushi
right?
Strip Mall, which just doesn't sound as fucking cool?
Right. But what I really liked over there, I can be pretty picky when it comes to sushi rolls and things like that. I don't eat a lot of rice and carbs and things. They just don't agree with me, so I make certain choices. And I was introduced to a couple of new no rice things that I really liked. One of them was not your typical fake crab mix, whatever wrapped in salmon. Those are pretty common. One of them was like full of vegetables, and then it was almost like a chirawashi bowl. I think that's how you say it, where it's a bunch of salad or greens or something like that, and then all these beautiful types of fish. So instead of being laid out in sashimi, it's kind of like a salad. This was
Right.
done
With
that
the
way.
rice under it as well, right? It usually sits on a bed
I
of
don't do
rice.
that, but yes,
Okay.
sometimes yes. But what I loved about this one specifically is it had a lot of really fresh and pickled veg. So you had crunch, you had softness from the fish, you had really great pickly notes to go with it. So it was a really kind of balanced thing. So I just wanted to throw that out there. If you're somebody like me who eats a lot of sashimi or salads or something like that, definitely go check out their list. They have other stuff as well, but that is really the standout for me.
A lot of people don't really eat the chirashi, right? Like, and that is a classic form
It
of
is, yeah.
sushi. It is up there with nigiri. It is up there with
Yep.
maki, which are the rolls, and of course sashimi.
Yep.
But it never really caught on in America. But yeah, I mean, I think calling it like a sushi salad, raw fish salad would
Yeah.
be the
Oh,
best way
I'm
to
there.
explain
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, exactly. So that I mean that's basically and yes, you can get rice. So I've seen some places that do a mix of rice and greens or you can choose. So really, really enjoyed that. I hit Jam's restaurant. I've talked about them before, so I'll be brief, but they're just a favorite spot of mine for that sort of somebody's at home cooking for you, but it's also got a little bit of that diner vibe going on. It's a really great mix. It's not a full greasy spoon.
Where are they?
They are on Rainbow and Charleston,
Ooh.
on the
Oh,
corner. They're near the big Albertsons that's over there. And yeah, they have what they call their pot of bread, if that's your thing, and you can get like cinnamon raisin or plain. They have all the things you can think of. I personally went because I like their gravy for the chicken fried steak, but I've
ooh.
also had some really good sandwiches there for lunch. I'm just more of a breakfast person.
Would
So
they be doing a roast turkey kind of dinner sandwich thing with gravy
I
all over it?
believe they absolutely do. Yeah.
Oh, I know where
Yeah.
I'm going on the way home from the airport in 2 weeks.
If I'm there, we'll go together.
Yeah.
Rich is
Um,
like in Paris plotting
I
trips
know,
to
I love
someplace
this.
that are only 2 minutes from his house,
I
right? Like
know,
that's
right?
pretty
Yeah.
much it. He's like, wait, a place near my house. I need to go.
I teased last week. I went to this place called the Blooming Bistro. They're having an opening event coming up on April 10th. Believe that starts at 3 p.m. And that is, oh gosh, it's over by. Oh, there's a health center right there. I believe it's off of Rancho. So like Rancho and Charleston, right in that area.
Okay.
There's a health center, and you can't miss it. It's basically Rancho and Charleston, but on the a little bit north on Rancho. What I like about it is that it's people were trained there by RHI. I think we all know Mark Steele with Restaurant Hospitality Initiative Institute. They do trainings. They offer, people to get their serve safe cards, all of that stuff. They went in and they're working with this bistro, and it's the point is to teach people hospitality who may not have had the chance to do it because they come from abusive backgrounds or recovery backgrounds. And so everything they do is about training people to get into a new line of work. And the lunch was really good. I went with our friend Rachel, who I work with on Chefs for Kids, and we had a Mediterranean salad with this red pepper hummus that was to die for. We had a salmon dish with all kinds of really great veg. It was colorful, it was cooked well. Um, we had a Danny's brown derby, which to me reminded me a bit of a hot brown from Kentucky, but it was more like a burger sandwich style. It had braised tri-tip and all the sauces and really, really tasty stuff. And then we had one more and I'm missing it, so I'm so sorry, but you've got to try it out. They're opening again is next Thursday, the 10th.
But they're in operation now?
They are in operation, absolutely. And
Is
people are
this lunch
still in
and dinner
training.
restaurant or
It
just a lunch
is,
dinner?
I
The
believe it's
restaurant.
just lunch, but I will double check those hours because, like I said, I went in before the actual like grand thing, but they are in operation if somebody was to show up. I went in the middle of the day, like 11 o'clock they open, um, and
Well, I
really
got to get
enjoyed
out of
it.
my house before the housekeeper comes today.
There you
So
go. Yeah, check
There
it
you
out
go.
maybe
because
that's
you'll
lunch.
see that they walk the people who are helping your table how to ask certain questions. And when you come up, this is how you present this. And they're in training while they're feeding you. And they want feedback. They want to hear how things are going. So I really, really enjoy this place. We're hoping to get them on the podcast in the next few weeks.
I'm
I think
loving this.
something like this is really important, not only for our industry, but for our community stuff.
Yeah.
So easy. It's easy to throw out the big chefs out there that are looking for sous and things like that. But something like this where people can come from those more difficult backgrounds and find a place in an industry that really is very community driven, and they get to learn on the job, they get to interact in real time and figure out how things are working, and they're doing a really great job. And it's got a big place in my heart right now. So please go check that out. You should go today if you have the time.
Yeah, it sounds
Um,
fantastic. And, I mean, I think it's important to realize that, like, those of us that only eat in restaurants, that have never really worked. I mean, look, everybody's worked at a restaurant at some point or another
I
in their
believe
career. I
so.
mean,
Yeah.
let's be honest about that. But, I think a lot of people forget that the restaurant industry is it's a leg up for a lot of people. It's
It
a very
is.
merit-based society. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's got sexism involved in it, and we could talk about that. We will be talking about that this
Yes.
episode. But generally speaking, it's a merit-based industry. And if you get in, no matter what's going on in your life, there's always kind of work for you. And Natalie Young has said this to me because she's always tried to train young people from at-risk communities or things. And, she said, look, she's been a junkie. She's been through a lot of messed up
Yeah.
shit. But at the end of the day, no matter what happened, if she was, if she could get her shit together enough to go to work, she could have a job,
Yeah.
find a job, right? And I do think that it's a great industry. I've never made my career in it, but some of the people that I love more than anything in the world are in that industry. And I do think that it is a place where if you can figure it out, if you can get your foot in the door, you have something to fall back on.
Yep. Yeah.
So
And so just really,
Yeah.
really just a great opportunity. So yeah, give them some love, please. And yeah, again, they open April 10th and hopefully we'll be able to talk to them soon.
sounds great. Okay. You and I gonna talk about the her dinner later
Yeah,
together, right?
absolutely.
Cool. Rich, let's hear from you, man. I'm crossing my fingers that this is not gonna be all Vincent Vega at the
Oh,
beginning of
God.
Pulp Fiction with a big speech about the
No,
Royale with
no,
cheese
no,
and how
no.
quarter pounds work. So Rich, please, please, please share something French with me.
Well, I also, sportscaster style, stuck a microphone out the window here. So there's the sound of the Rue de Versailles. So if any of those great French police sirens go by, you'll hear them.
Oh boy.
Anyway, I got far too many places to share in a few minutes. So the highlights here, mostly hits, couple of misses. I've been here 2 weeks in Paris, a couple of days in London, and I will start there. the Amsterdam-based seafood restaurant called the Seafood Bar and Restaurant and Trottier in London's Soho district. And I got this fruit de mer plate, a very reasonable 37 pounds for one person. 1, 2, 4 is how it goes. Overflowing with stuff. I'll send you the pictures and we can put them up because it's actually pretty gorgeous.
Can I ask you? Can I just ask you like a question? Because you shocked me when you said 37 pounds. I was like, that is the biggest fucking plate ever. And then I realized you were talking about money. So, so you're paying like in local currency. You're paying in francs and pounds, not euros.
No, not francs. Have you been there? Have you heard of the euro?
I just asked you that. That was my question. I said you're paying in local currency, not euros.
The UK never went to the euro, so I pay in pounds in the UK.
That's all I'm asking. Cool.
And euros in France. Yes.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
And UK pulled out of the European Union anyway, so.
Yeah, exactly. Right. You got to do the whole passport thing to go to the UK, not just going right through. Anyway, this plate, a dozen mussels and tiny clams, 2 huge oysters, 4 crevettes, smoked mackerel rillette, sort of a mackerel spread with some extra stuff, a seafood salad, I think was based on fake crab, but it was really good, lightly smoked salmon, whelks, like little tiny conchs the size of snails, half a Devon brown crab.
Ooh.
This is like halfway between a blue crab and a Dungeness as far as size goes. So there's a lot of meat in there, but it is a bit of work. A big, wonderful mess of slurping, cracking, yanking, dipping, topped with a little Badwa sparkling water and a glass of champagne. So the whole thing came in at about, I'm going to say more like 70 pounds or about 100, 120 US.
Okay.
Great value. I posted a picture on my Facebook.
Yeah, that's a lot of food.
Yeah, it really was. James Trees piped up when he saw the picture, and he said it looks exactly like the seafood tower he's put on the menu at Bar Boheme. So, and don't you guys dare record an episode there until I am back.
Well, I ate there. I'll tell you about it.
I saw that. Yeah. Next day, I made a pilgrimage to the Borough Market in London. It's a place I'd never been in a dozen London trips. I feel ashamed. Reminds me a lot of the Seattle's Pike Place Market 20 years ago when the produce and food vendors outnumbered the artisans. But my rookie mistake, thinking, well, I'm in London, I want to have fish and chips one time, and I had fish and chips there. Very good looking piece of haddock, skin on. It was pretty good. The chips were right out of the freezer at this place. So lesson learned, which was just sad. Because there were so many other things there. There was a guy making, or about 5 guys making mushroom risotto. They had the mushrooms in one 4-foot in diameter paella pan and the risotto going in the other, only it wasn't rice, it was spelt. So it was really deep and interesting stuff when they mixed the two together. So now in Paris, I have tried to
wait, before you do, I want to ask you a question about the fish and chips in London. So did you go to any dedicated chippies while you were there?
That's what this was.
It was
the middle
okay.
Of the Borough Market and all the places there.
Okay,
could have had so many good things.
You mentioned which type of fish that you purchased. I think you said it was haddock or something.
Correct.
No, so this, I think, is something that surprised me. I've only been to London once. It was a good 20 years ago. But when I would go to Chippies, what surprised me was that you had to pick the type of fish you wanted. In America, it's just like, oh, give me a fish and chips. But there, it's like, do you want cod? Do you want haddock? Is it still like that?
There was at this place, because the Borough Market's kind of upscale and touristy and all that, there were about 5 different choices, including halibut. And I thought, is there halibut in the North Sea, or is that just an Alaskan Pacific thing? So I went with a haddock, which is the usual thing for fish and chips in England.
Yeah,
I thought it was
you can choose in Australia as well.
Yeah, there's stuff.
I always thought cod was the go-to, but good to know.
Yeah. I also had one good full English breakfast at a chain called Cafe Concerto. They're all over London. They're very nice looking chains. Really hit the spot after a week of Paris. It was just bread and coffee for the mornings. You always save up for lunch when you're in Paris.
Did you ask them for eggs over medium?
They come that way. They come sunny side up. You don't ask for that.
You don't ask. They don't do the richest eggs.
They do it perfectly sunny side up, and they got toast and beans and mushrooms and the cooked tomato.
Yep.
I'm not a big tomato fan in the best of days, so steaming it and kind of making it mush doesn't really work for me. And a little just Heinz baked beans out of the can in a little container. So I love it. So, Paris. I'm trying to get to as many bistros and brasseries in the neighborhoods as I can find. And I'm staying with a friend in a neighborhood far away from the tourist stuff. And here's, guess what? Some of those places are not very good.
Well, I mean,
And I
I
stumbled
guess
on a
that's the
couple.
thing. People assume like, right? Oh, I'm going to go to Paris. It's the capital of the food universe. Like, no, yeah, it is. But there's couple million people that are living there and working there every day, and some of them eat shit, just like we do here.
I had this steak frites that I ordered medium rare. Came in raw. I should have taken a clue from the guy with the dog sitting at the bar, because there's, dogs everywhere in Paris. They go everywhere. The dog was eating something off the floor, and I realized it was his own barf.
Oh,
and then I looked
there's
away.
The mark of a great restaurant.
Yeah, I looked away, and then I looked back, and all of a sudden the dog's eating more barf.
good
The dog
Lord.
happily rebarfed and enjoying seconds.
Dude, yeah, I gotta say, man, I like gritty, right? I like down and dirty restaurants and bars, but if I see a dog eating vomit off the floor of a restaurant, I'm sorry, that's my time to leave. That's
a good
literally
benchmark.
like, no, you've gone over Al's line.
Eventually,
Rich, you are a bolder man than me.
The proprietor cleaned it up. So the steak frites was and the onion soup was very perfunctory. The onions not cooked nearly enough. And this I know from having tried that myself. Another onion soup at a brasserie on the other side of town in a neighborhood I can't even begin to remember the name. Much better, as was this salmon tartare. The highlight of that place was something called the Porn Star Martini, which had absolutely nothing to do with a martini. I saw a couple of English girls enjoying it, and I asked, and it was about 8 ounces of stuff in a tumbler, not a martini glass. Vanilla vodka, passion fruit, and some sparkling water. No resemblance to a real martini. It even came with a straw.
Yeah, I forget who invented that. You can find some porn star martinis here in Vegas. It
was good.
Just looked up the history of that drink for something I was writing recently.
Okay.
I forget what it was. So if you want, I'll put you together a place where you can get some porn star martinis.
Sure. One of the best meals
So wait till next year. I bring you out with some porn stars when the awards come to town. So.
Well, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm looking for some fringe benefits from this gig. Come on. One of the most famous places in the city is Au Pierre Cochon, Foot of the Pig. Been around for decades and decades in Les Halles, the old food market that's now a big impersonal mall. And I finally got there. I had more onion soup. Actually, I did not have onion soup there. I had the thing that also was on every menu with onion soup, deviled eggs, loaded with a creamy yolk mixture in the whites, sitting on a bed of house-made mayo, little herbs on top. Combined it with the pork shepherd's pie. It was the lunch combo of the day for 19 euros. I drank whatever nearly everybody else in the place was drinking. Any guess?
Wine.
Coke Zero.
Oh God.
I've had a few glasses here of wine, but I have upgraded my. I'm like about a 5 Coke Zero a day habit.
Oh
now.
Gosh.
Because you've inspired me to go get another Monster Energy drink from my fridge. So just I'll turn it.
Sure. This little aside: France is a nearly Pepsi-free country. Apparently, there was a big price dispute between Pepsi and the country's 2 major grocery chains. So it is all Coke all the time. I look at the label and it said, Coca-Cola sans sucre, without sugar.
Yeah.
And I tried to be pretentious once and told the worker, Coca sans sucre. What? Coke Zero. Oh, yeah, Coke Zero. So much for that. My repeat business has been an all-day brasserie about 10 blocks from where I'm staying called La Fichette, Fetiche, Fetiche, on Rue des Hôtels in the 16th arrondissement. First stop there was a big meal, starting with a baseball-sized mound of burrata atop some thinly sliced beets, slivered onions. Oh, man, really sweet beets.
Yeah.
The chicken was roasted, half a chicken in a house blend of spice that it was almost like a Jamaican jerk thing going on.
Okay.
Very dark. And a lot of gravy in there to help with the big mound of pomme de terre, mashed potatoes in that gravy. Went back a couple of days later for what I thought would be a lighter meal, a nice veggie salad. And it should have read, half the harvest of all France salad. The bed of the thing was a combination of field greens and couscous. And it held one hell of an array. Marinated artichokes, marinated eggplant slices, half an avocado, and a hard-boiled egg cut in half. All in a French Dijon vinaigrette dressing. By the way, there's really only one salad dressing in the whole country, the Dijon vinaigrette. Don't be asking for any Thousand Island.
How about French dressing?
Yeah. French is French. You bet. Yeah. No. And I went back there one more time for the Vegette burger, a very good, nice burger done medium. It's clearly fresh meat on a brioche bun with lettuce and a sort of their version of a Big Mackey sauce, although it had a little kick to it. They had little squeeze things of ketchup, mayo, and mustard, brown mustard. The frites were good, not great, but good, because I just got back from my birthday present to myself, which was La Relais de Venise, the place that invented this single item steakhouse. I have droned on about this place in the past. A guy in the 50s bought a closed Italian restaurant, didn't have the budget to change the name or the decor, and he couldn't cook. So he figured out how to make one thing.
Why did he buy the restaurant?
He wanted to be in the restaurant business. You know, the allure of the romance of the restaurant business. How about, times 20 if you're in Paris. So he learned how to make one thing very well, which is this thin ribeye covered in a secret and family invented sauce. A lot of herbs, a lot of butter. Somebody said chicken livers, possibly. It's served with a salad and the best frites in the world. Two things about this place I love. It's only the one thing, so there's only the one price, prefix for the salad, steak, frites, and bread. Wine and dessert are extra. There's a modest selection of wines and about 5 different desserts. So that's good. And also, instead of one huge serving, you get a smaller plate and a smaller serving of the steak on the sauce and the frites. And then about the time you're done, they bring you seconds, nice and warm again. So instead of having a whole big plate of stuff that goes,
shit, man.
Yeah, instead of having a big plate that's cold by halfway through, you get a whole new hot serving. It's wonderful.
Wow.
So the first modest joint on the backside of the Arc de Triomphe, they've got a couple here in Paris. It's a family-owned places. They're also in New York, London, and Monaco. And then they licensed the concept. And they're all over the Gulf in the Middle East: Doha, Dubai, Riyadh, Beirut, Hong Kong, Shanghai, Istanbul, Cairo, and Jordan.
Wow.
So,
have you been like, you certainly have a lot of information about this place, and I love it. And I'm wondering, are you like in negotiations to bring them back here to Vegas, man? Have you been talking to them?
That would be amazing.
People, why this concept, with all the restaurant concepts in Vegas, why somebody hasn't tried this before. Remember a few weeks ago, I talked about this place that says French-inspired steakhouse. It's on Sammy Davis, Sammy Davis Industrial behind.
Oh, is that the fetish club looking one?
World. It looks like it. It's it's.
You're talking about Naughty Angel?
I think that's what it's called, isn't it?
Because I'm planning a trip to Naughty Angel.
Is it open now?
Steakhouse.
It says French-inspired steakhouse, and I'm wondering if that's what this is.
Yeah, it is the place that I'm thinking of, and it's right behind Resorts World, and there's a parking lot to the south of it that has Rise Cannabis Dispensary and Sapphire Gentlemen's Club.
Yes, and
then
north.
on the other side, right on the to the north of it is this Naughty Angel Steakhouse. Yeah, Sue and I were talking about that, and we definitely want to do a trip where we go to Rise Dispensary and we smoke some weed in their cannabis consumption lounge, and then we go to Naughty Angel, and then we go back to Rise, and then we go to Sapphire. So if you guys want to come, this is not on the Neon Feast expense account. Okay, I make that clear. But
all right, so
if you want to pay your own way, we can do that, because I can't afford to buy you guys all steaks and weed and lap dances. Man.
Yeah. All right. That's enough for this week. Tomorrow, I am off to my first non-Paris French adventure, a 5-hour train trip to the home of the film festival, Cannes, on the shores of the Mediterranean. So stay tuned.
Sounds fun, man. Okay. As for me, by the way, this is, when you get to this, it's going to be April. So I guess Women's Month is over. Women's History Month is over. But there has been a lot going on for Women's History Month, especially these past 2 weeks here in Las Vegas. And I'll talk a bit about that when we get to Women's Hospitality Initiative. But let's talk about Gemini and I went over to the Palms. This was called the Her Dinner at the Palms. It was basically the female chefs from the Palms that were all brought out and asked to create their own dinner, right? With 3 very, very different sets of influences from each of these very talented women that we had. So it was Chef Jessica Buffington, Chef Tammy Purdy, and Chef Christina Lawson. We also had the Palms beverage director, Nicole Canfield, and winemaker Jill Russell from Cambria Wines. So fantastic meal in the private dining room of Scotch 80 Prime, but it was not the Scotch 80, again, Scotch 80 kitchen team, of course,
Oh,
supporting it, right?
yeah.
But this was not Chef Marty running the show. He turned his kitchen over to these talented women and let them do their thing. And Jim, I don't know, man. I thought that was a fucking amazing menu.
Loved it. Oh my
And like
God.
shit that you wouldn't expect to get, right? Because
No.
everybody just was pulling in influences from their families and things like that.
What I like too is like that first dish that came out, the trio of things.
Oh yeah.
It was amazing because they were three very different bites of food, but they all still went together. Like together, they were telling her story. And I thought it was really clever how they were able to take three different views of something and put it together into one dish that you could just go back and forth on bites and enjoy. And of course, Nicole and Jess put the wines together beautifully. So yeah, I just from the get-go, I was impressed.
Yeah, that first dish was great. There was a trio. It was a salmon taco, an empanada stuffed with great Wagyu beef, and I think it was a crab summer roll, right?
Yep.
But just light hints of crab
Oh.
there. So a lot of Asian influences, a lot of Mexican influences. Really, really good. Beet salad with a shiv cannoli on top.
Oh,
Y'all know I don't like beets, but that was really, really good as it goes.
yeah.
Little intermezzo to cleanse our palates. Then they did that steak in that kind of spicy,
Oh
almost
my
mole
God, that was
style
good.
sauce.
It was so much food too. Like you think
Yeah.
of tasting
Yeah, it was
menus, you're
huge. It
thinking a
was
few
enough to-
bites. This was a whole plate of like steak for each person. Two huge
Yeah.
medallions. The sauce was gorgeous. I loved the kick on that. How did you fare with that? I know you're not really a spicy guy.
Oh, no, I liked it. I enjoyed it. It wasn't, it was a lot of flavor that you could get out of it. I mean,
Yeah.
I like spice when on my palate I can actually taste all of these different
Yeah, that's
spices
fair.
in there, and I don't mind the heat. What I don't like is when the spice blinds my palate and I can't
Yeah.
get those subtleties out of it.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is me. That's my personal chemistry, how I'm wired, but a lot of that is how people use spice too. So look, that was fantastic. Bravo. Thank you all for inviting me there. And yeah, we had a fantastic time. And congratulations to those fantastic chefs. Spent a little bit of time at Pizza Expo last week. Saw John Arena, Giamaro, Michael Vacny, KLAA's Andy Harris was there. Plenty of other cool people, man. But I did not attend the restaurant and bar show. Nothing to report on there. Two events on Thursday of last week. We began with a grand opening party for the new poolside venue Patio at the M Resort. And if you go out the M Resort, it's basically if you go down to the bottom floor, not the basement where they have the Hostel Grape, right? But a little above that, and you walk out, and there's a big patio area, which is sort of surrounded on three sides by the hotel itself structure. Then on the other side is the pool. No, I've been out there many times in the past. It's a beautiful way to beautiful place to hang out. But now they want it to be a venue in and of itself, right? So they're going to they got their own menu going on there. They got their own, bar menu, new cocktails, etc. So that's really cool. Honestly, like it looks very much the same, right? It's really just that they're putting a lot of attention to
Sure.
a space that was already a beautiful space. I mean, you don't expect a remodel. I mean, I'm sure somebody did some great work, but nothing that I could fucking notice, on the remodel end. It was beautiful to begin with. It looks beautiful now. And I sat down. Well, I didn't sit down. I actually stood up with the M's Michael Credico and had him explain what it's all about.
Create another venue at the M Resort, but we wanted to do it a little different. Al fresco. We invested a lot of money in this big screen TV for the pool. We wanted it to tie in with the pool, the daydreams, the big screen, and give it more of a resort feel where you're outside, you're eating great Mexican food, sipping cool cocktails and margaritas and tequilas. And we just wanted to add something else for our guests. I mean, since the pandemic, we opened up not all of our venues, so slowly we were getting everything back to going, and we had this space out at the pool, and we're going to give it a shot. We're going to play with Mother Nature. We're going to give everybody a chance to sit outside because our pool area is fantastic, and we needed another venue for the new tower that's coming in the next few months. So that's the whole idea behind the patio. I know it's a little risky playing with the weather. I know it gets hot in the summertime, but we get cool nights. So we want to make it eventful where we start doing float parties and dive-in movies, and we're the Raiders home, so we can do watch parties for them, for the Golden Knights, for Silver Knights with the hockey bars themed after. So there's a lot of things we're going to do with it.
And straight from there, Sue and I drove over to Wynn Las Vegas to check out the new Baccarat bar. This is in Wynn Las Vegas. There used to be the B bar, right? It was kind of on one of those corners of the casino floor and one of those side hallways. They've moved that across that side hallway to the other side.
Okay.
Beautiful space, just what you're expecting from Wynn, the way they've done their redecorations lately. It's just lush, brass and glass and leather and plush and all of that kind of shit that you love in a good, you just want to sink in and sip whiskey or something there, right? But you don't have to just sip whiskey, because there is an absolutely fantastic cocktail program by Mariena Mercer Boarini. She did a little cocktail demo for those of us who were there that night, and I got a chance also to speak with her right before she did that demo and asked her about the cocktails she's making.
So we're here at Baccarat Bar, formerly known as B Bar. This is a beautiful space designed by our Chief Creative Officer, Todd Avery Lenahan, and it was really inspired by his favorite cocktail, which is an old-fashioned. So I have a menu of 6 cocktails that are kind of classic in their roots, but obviously the Wynn spin of luxury, worldly ingredients. So like today we'll be doing the hot and dirty martini, which is really popular on the East Coast, not so much in Las Vegas. So I kind of wanted to bring it here. It's basically a play on a dirty martini, but it has a little bit of that heat, and as our palates have kind of evolved in culinary and cocktails the same. So I make this brine of everything you can imagine briny. So like caper berries, capers, pepperoncinis, roasted red peppers, obviously olives. And it's almost like this broth of sorts of all of the briny things, but it has this finesse with a little bit of spice as well. We do a Belvedere vodka, and I put a truffle salt on the side just to give it this really cool savory kind of umami luxury ingredient. The olives, one of them is a piri piri chili from Africa, stuffed in the olive there, so it's exotic and fun. And if you're feeling a little wild, you can have a bite of that spicy olive. We're also doing a margarita called the Wild Side, which is a macroot lime and yuzu margarita with a little bit of habanero spiced agave, and our Wynn signature salt, which is different herb crystals, chili, and lemon in it. And then we're also doing a cocktail I call Dream a Little Dream. It's just a really feminine play on a gin sour. It's elderflower and rose infused gin. Grapefruit, Japanese plum wine, and it has a green tea jasmine lychee foam on top with Egyptian rose petals. So it's just like silky and smooth and floral and just a really kind of beautiful cocktail. So the idea was to match these beautiful cocktails with such a beautiful space and really be B-Bar reimagined.
On Friday, we had the chance to attend a collaboration dinner at Ortikia in Green Valley Ranch. This is Bruce Bromberg and Sheldon Simeon. And now I'm going to tell you, I got invited to this. I was told who it was. I didn't go and do like a lot of research. Sheldon, he was a top chef guy.
He was, yeah, I remember him.
Hawaiian chef. I feel like, first of all, I love Ortikia. I feel like Ortikia is one of the most really underappreciated casino restaurants of the suburban casino restaurants. I mean, I just don't know that people are getting it there, and I think you should. It's a Greek restaurant that is all about fire cooking. I mean, that's their deal. So people are already having a hard time kind of getting what that restaurant's all about. I don't feel like they specifically explained this collaboration, like as you were walking in. There wasn't literature, there wasn't that kind of stuff. So I did get Bruce Bromberg to explain it to me personally. And once you know the backstory, it was to begin with, it was a fantastic dinner. Some charred octopus hero over squidding tara masalata, a chicken liver pate with guava jelly, some poke, wood-fired scallops on the shell with some oxtail and some salmon roe, a mixed grill of huli quail, bronzino, lamb salad, the spits of lamb in the open kitchen, just spread eagle, and they're carving them off and putting them in there. It was just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Everything about it was great. Made even better when I got Bruce to kind of give me the backstory.
Basically, this room inspired this dinner. The grill, and I've just been in here cooking on this amazing wood-fired grill. Sheldon and I cooked after the Lahaina fires for 10 days together. And it was a very bonding experience. And I had been telling him over the last couple of months about this amazing grill that I was putting together at GVR. And he's like, Chef, as soon as you have, a date, let's do it. Let's cook together. So I just thought it would be a great kickoff to like this chef series. Cooking on this grill, telling whatever chef comes to have fun and make amazing stuff. And it's a really collaborative dinner, which was something that Sheldon and I are super comfortable.
So tell me about the chef series. How frequently will you do things like that?
I think we're looking at doing it probably 4 to 6 times a year, depending. But yeah, at least every 3 months. And I'm going to invite chefs from all over the country and bring them here and let them create some amazing dishes on this wood-fired grill.
Okay, so that was my Greek on Thursday night or Friday night, whatever fucking night that was. And then over the weekend, I was invited to another station casino, opposite end of the valley, opposite corner, Naxos Taverna, another Greek restaurant.
Yep.
And they wanted to have the media in for their brunch. And they don't do, brunches all that often. And it was cool. I got in there and stuff that you just don't normally see on their menu. Waffles, shashuka, Greek avocado toast, steak and eggs Benedict with lobster, something called strapasata that I'd never had before, but it's sort of like an egg kind of dish.
Was it layered?
No, it's sort of like a scramble with a bunch of other stuff in it. So that was cool. Of course, Lucanica sausage, applewood bacon, toasted peasant bread. It was just really fucking good. And I very much enjoyed that. That was my Saturday brunch. So if you hear about a brunch at Naxos Taverna, give them a shot. It's a great restaurant. And then our friend Mitch Schneider had a little Groove is in the Heart party over at Laguna Pool House at Palms Place.
Mm-hmm.
I like that restaurant. I like it a lot. I like Chef Luke Palladino. I would say it needs maybe a bit more on the menu. It's very much like a hotel's 24-hour restaurant menu.
Okay.
So it's got a little bit of something for everybody, but doesn't dive deep into anything. Everything I've ever had there has been very, very good. I would just like to see a 2-page menu instead of a 1-page menu. I'm not always really in the mood for the things that they're showing me, but we were there. Mitch had a great party. I was there early. We were all supposed to dress in disco with my mohawk and my leather jacket. I didn't really know how I was going to look disco. So I bought a Disco Sucks t-shirt and I wore that because that's how I would have been in the 70s. And Pamela DeBar was there, by the way.
Nice.
And there's a lot of famous people, but the super groupie of all super groupies, Ms. Pamela DeBar, was there hanging out in her 70s best. Yeah, I guess I had a truffled pizza, which was really good. Sue had some grilled salmon, really good. I do like Laguna Pool House. It's a good spot. And thanks for inviting me to that, Mitch. Then finally, and I don't want to dig too deep here, but Bar Boheme by James Trees in the Arts District.
Yeah.
Little media preview dinner over there. And let's get this out in the open. Everybody knows we love James Trees. We kiss his ass to a level here. And that's because,
Indeed.
we love going to his restaurants. Every one of us loves different ones of his restaurants for different reasons. Some might say we're a little, overly nice, when things are fucked up. And I'll be the first to say, I go in and I go, well, it wasn't so, this was a problem. But we do call them on it when there are some problems, right? No problems whatsoever about this fucking restaurant. Now, we were the only people in there. It was one table. So, clearly they've got to get, up to gear. I give them time. But for what I had on that first night, media dinner, it was just an absolutely exceptional experience. And it was what I think like a good French casual restaurant should be. And I think, what people don't really understand frequently about French food is that it may look alien to us, but a lot of this is bar food. It's pub food. It's simple food, right? And even raw bar stuff and things like that. I will say that the menu, if you're going to read the menu, it might be a little intimidating. I'm holding it up here. There's a lot of everything's in French, and you might be like, what is that? But don't worry. They've got a great staff. They're going to explain things. Talk about dishes that I had there. I mean, we did a terrine because he's got a lot of pâtés and terrines there. This one was wrapped in beautiful butter, right? French butter. We had some gourgères with truffle cheese mousse. We had a duck rillette on toasted bread. We had some scallops crudo, some lobster cocktail, some cold mussels, some hot mussels, some steak tartare. So good, I wrote it down twice on my list. Some roasted bone marrow with a tarragon brulee on top,
Oh
and
my
onion jam and
God.
sourdough.
Yeah.
We did escargot. We did steak frites. We did beef. There have 3 different cuts of steak available with the steak frites. We did beef bourguignon. Bourguignon, as they say, which was great. We had their spin on Coquille Saint-Jacques. We did Mary's Duck, which was fantastic. A beautiful breast with a little bit of leg confit. Some fantastic desserts. A pastry chef on a level that you rarely find in off-strip restaurants that James has working for him right now. So this was total knockouts. I loved absolutely everything about it. I could see myself just going in here and sitting at the bar and ordering, a few cold seafood dishes or just something really, really casual. I'm going to give it, one of the, okay, first, do you want to know how ambitious James is being? Like, he was saying things like, okay, this is this dish. We used the one at the French Laundry as a starting point and tried to make it better, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, so that was the level of ambition that these guys were going for. And I'm not going to compare him to Thomas Keller ever in a million years. I love both of them, but they're seriously just knocking it out of the park, and it just feels so casual. I used to, in the old days, love going into Bouchon in the Palazzo and just sitting at the bar and eating casual cuisine, eating raw bar dishes, eating charcuterie, eating things like that. This is like that on fucking steroids. It's way more affordable. It's a super fun experience. I had a great time. And check this out. You know how whenever you go to like a James Trees restaurant, you always want to get some bread to go because he makes some of the best bread in town. So on our way out the door, he gave everybody a fresh baguette straight out of the oven, which I believe he's going to continue doing for people. You can, of course, order it there. And he gave us, I don't know if he's going to do this for everybody, but he gave us some of their butter, which was where Eschere, right? I'm mangling that there, but French butter is like eating fucking cheese. I mean, it's just so rich and so dense, and I loved it. For me, the fruits de mer, the cold plates of seafood are going to be a way to go here, and you can order the individual things. You could just do the prawns, say $19. You could do just the scallops for $22, etc. You can build your own lobster cocktail, East or West Coast oysters, the cold mussels, which are really, really nice. Or you can order their seafood towers like everybody else does. But as James says, in some restaurants, they start at $200 and go up to $400. Here, they start at $69 and go up to $195 for the size of the seafood tower. Yeah. So, this is going to be an affordable place you can go and hang out. There's also a hamburger we didn't get to try, by the way, but I'm told it's fantastic. I love this fucking restaurant. I love it for the Arts District. I love the casual aspect of it. One of my favorite things to do in the Arts District is to just sit in Bruce Coleman's barbecue spot, Soul Belly, right? It's just a good vibe, snacking, casual. Well, this is that for French food in the Arts District. It's a place that I would go. I go to Garcia sometime and just hang out there, but since I don't really drink wine, it's, not really the place for me. Yeah. This could be that. This could be a substitution for that. A great place to hang out in the Arts District. I fucking love it, and that was great. So, I also should mention that I went to World Women's Hospitality Initiative and MAP, which is a mentorship program. They celebrated their 5-year anniversary at Wynn Las Vegas. You're going to hear some interviews during the center segment, which is coming up in just a couple minutes, I should say. But Women's Hospitality Institute, let's just get this out there. This was founded because I know there's no way I don't talk politics here because everybody eats regardless of their politics, and I don't want to make you sick to your stomach hearing my politics, right? That's pretty much my view on this. But let's be fucking honest. Diversity, equity, and inclusion are not fucking dirty words in my mind. And Amen. I do believe that women in the restaurant industry have just been fucked over for years and years, not given the opportunities. This is a topic that when I used to interview women, I didn't ask them about being women, about their experience being women. I thought I was being like post-liberal, right? Like, let's pretend gender doesn't matter.
Right.
And at one point, I decided to do what I think a lot more journalists should do and just ask the subjects, like, do you think this needs to be spoken about? And I was really surprised by that every female chef I know said, yes, I want to talk about what it's like, because it's fucked up out there for women in this industry. So Women's Hospitality Initiative, founded by Elizabeth Blau and a bunch of other people, they were in town. I had a fantastic time hanging out with them at their party. Lorena Garcia was there. Dominique Kren was there. Just like these rock star women chefs, and I'm forgetting other people that were there. It was just really, really cool. So I had a great time, and you're going to hear a bit more about that. But I did want to go out there. It's an important cause. It's a great organization. If you think it's fucking easy for women in this industry, don't listen to me. I've got a penis. I'm not the guy you should be listening to on this topic, but talk to a woman you know in the industry. Ask them what they think. That's Al's preachiness. Done.
I want to thank you for that, and I want to add to it really quickly. One of the statistics we talked about last year when we were raising money for WHI through Picnic in the Alley is that 51, I think, % of culinary graduates anymore are women, and only 7% of women who graduate, or 7% of women in the industry, are head chefs, executive chefs, and owners.
Yeah, 7% of head chefs, executive chefs, and owners are women, I believe.
Yeah. Only 7%, 51% graduation, and 7% head job.
Right. And I do love, and you're going to hear in this next section coming up, they talk about it. It's not this glass ceiling. It's more this broken rung. It's this idea not of saying women need to be made CEOs today, but actually that women need to be nurtured from the time that they enter the industry. Yeah. So that they're prepared to be CEOs. But I'm going to let Elizabeth Blau talk about that and some of the other people coming up right after the next break. Gemini, you want to take us into that?
Let's do it. The news is next. No, fuck. I fucked that up. Sorry, Rich. Fuck. Okay.
Coming up in the news.
Yes, thank you.
What would be coming up in the news, Gemini? Just for our edification.
I know. Where's my tease?
Okay, we're going to do a break, right?
Coming up in the goddamn news, 10 years of Other Mama, new lunch at Atomic Golf. But first we check in with the aforementioned Women's Hospitality Initiative as they celebrate 5 years. And Bryce Krausman reflects on 15 years of DW Bistro. Gem, what is this?
This is Food and Loving.
Okay, as mentioned, Women's Hospitality Initiative, as well as the group MAP, Mentorship, Access, Purpose, Power of Community, held their conference at Wynn Las Vegas this week. Kat Cora was there, another name I forgot to mention. I dropped by for a little while, had a few conversations. Let's start with Lorena Garcia, who of course has Chica on the strip in Venetian Palazzo. She told me what she was there doing at the event, and then I kind of I photobombed the photo they were doing there with all the women chefs. So you'll hear that too.
I'm talking about profitability and how restaurant owners can make the most out of these businesses. So that's what I'm here for, and try to mentor as much as I can.
What is the message that people need to know about the state of women? I mean, you were one of the very first women to get her name on a marquee on Las Vegas Boulevard. So, you're a pioneer, but how much progress are we making? How much progress have we made in the last 5 years since this organization came about? And how much further do we still need to go?
We still need to go a lot further. I think that we have made advances, but I think it's so much more to do still. I don't think that we are where we need to be, and that's what we're here for. I think that is a continuous effort. To bring opportunities, to continue to empower the ladies in the industry and just continue to push. That's what I'm here for.
What would your message be to a young woman who is getting into hospitality, specifically into the restaurant industry, and specifically beyond that, back of the house, which tends to be much more hostile towards women than front of the house? What would you tell them?
Keep inspired, keep getting ready, study. I always say that you have to be a master in what you do. And that is something that it has to continue as you go along in your career, and just keep strong, keep moving forward, do this type of event, be participant of these events. And I'm in the middle of a picture.
I also spoke with one of the WHI's founders, Elizabeth Blau, and began by asking her how the past 5 years have gone.
First, we had a pandemic, then we had a supply chain crisis, then we had a workforce crisis. So it's just seems to be one thing after another in our industry. And so the one stalwart has been we were able to launch our education platform. And when you talk about the issues with women in leadership and glass ceilings, one of the most fascinating facts that we discovered was actually a study done by Sheryl Sandberg and the Lean In Foundation, and they talk about the broken rung. So the broken rung is a rung on a ladder, and they were finding that women and men were entering the workforce in the U.S. in equal numbers, but women were actually falling behind at that entry-level job. And so nobody was getting anywhere near a glass ceiling, because they just weren't making it up the ladder. And so that's why we decided to focus on education. And we launched our course. It's a collegiate level course from the classroom to the boardroom, Leadership for Women in Hospitality. The Culinary Institute of America and UNLV were the first to launch it. We added Florida International. San Diego State was teaching it for a while. And our hope, goal, and mission is that hospitality, culinary programs around the country will take this course and really make sure that we are giving our women every tool that they can to succeed and to achieve their goals.
What's the goal this weekend, this Sunday and Monday? I know the gala is going to be a big celebration, but you have a lot of conferences going on. So what are you trying to accomplish, or is it more just checking in with other women in the industry?
It's a little of both, but if I had to pick one word, I would say inspire. My goal and the Women's Hospitality Initiative goal is that every woman that comes to this conference, whether they're an attendee, whether they're a speaker, whether they're one of our incredible sponsors, that everybody leaves inspired, that they leave inspired by what they hear, by the people they meet, by the things they learn. And that's really, what our goal is. We can't talk to you for 2 days about, only women's issues. And so that's why we have people like Todd Lenahan, who is probably one of the most extraordinarily talented architect and design geniuses in the country, and so he's going to lead and kick off our series, with some inspiration. We have Diana Bennett and Diana Bennett and Jan Jones and Poonam Mather doing a fireside chat with me, talking about leadership and philanthropy and so it's an extraordinary cadre of women. There's a leadership panel with Dominique Crenn and Kat Cora and Antonio Lafazo and Lorena Garcia. So we've got coverage on all sides of just extraordinary women attending.
You look around the country right now, words like diversity, equity, inclusion, they're suddenly very out of fashion where they were very in fashion a few years ago. Has that shift in our culture made it more difficult for you to get your messages out there or to find people to cooperate in this?
No, absolutely not. Diversity, equity, inclusion shouldn't be a fad or a trend. It's something that should just be in the DNA of what we're trying to do. And so, when any issue gets pushed dramatically to one side or the other, it gets taken out of context. So it's absolutely at the forefront. And, we feel we have all of the support and all of the attention that we had, before. So, we don't feel that we've taken a step back at all.
Cool. Well, thanks a lot for your time. Congratulations on what you've done in 5 years. I can't wait to see what else you accomplish.
I know, the next 5. Here we go. Let's try not to have any more natural disasters and really just focus on the extraordinary opportunities for men and women to work together to make sure that women can lead.
And finally, I got a few minutes to chat with Nina Manchev.
Oh, yay.
Formerly, she's the creator of Forte Tapas, which is no longer there, but they just did a pop-up kind of revisiting that concept. She's currently working with Fortune Events. And as she told me, she has been involved with the WHI from day one.
I was a part of the kickoff party and the first rollout of the event, and I'm back here again for their inaugural celebration. So it's great.
When you look around and you see all of these people coming together, does it fulfill what you were hoping to do 5 years ago when you started this? Do you think you're making progress, moving in the right direction? Do you feel that it's been a success so far?
I think that's been the consensus, and it's been wonderful working with Jolene and her driving the vision forward and all these other amazing women who are a part of it, and finally seeing how it's all coming together and having all these powerhouse women all in one place and sharing this experience.
You're clearly already a very successful woman in this industry. When you come to an event like this, what are you hoping to get out of it? Or are you hoping to share what you already know with other people?
You know, for me, it's inspiring just to be around all of these women. I think we all flourish in our own ways, and it's nice to have this kind of community event that brings everybody together and us all be able to support each other.
When you look around the society as a whole right now and you see people kind of rolling their eyes at things that involve diversity or equity or inclusion, do you think it makes it harder for an event like this, or do you think it makes it harder for an organization like this to get people's attention and make them realize that whatever the politics of the moment may be, we still need to make progress on this issue?
I think events like this are progress, and I think events like this make it easy to see how hard it is to ignore those kinds of topics and the inclusion and the growth and development of, you know, humanity in the world and all of us being able to support each other in this way.
What is the message to the world? What's the message to young women who want a career in this industry, and then to the rest of the world who may not have done what they should have done so far to make sure women are in the proper positions?
I think the message for all of this, we have to keep driving it until it no longer is a message that we need to drive. And it's just something that we can participate and throw. And it's not about, you know, just necessarily Women's Hospitality Initiative, but all of us in the hospitality industry working together and being able to provide more value into the world.
And as we've mentioned, and you may know, DW Bistro is closing this weekend after one final brunch. That is Sunday, April 6th. Al recently sat down with co-founder Bryce Krausman to reflect on the restaurant's 15 years in Las Vegas.
The day we actually opened was April 6, 2010. And the day we're closing is April 6, 2025. So 15 years to the dot.
Wow, and that's amazing. You and I were just talking off mic about, you know, the explosion of off-strip dining that's really coincided with the time that you've had this restaurant open. I mean, this was a bellwether of things to come, I believe, and it has been followed up by, you know, now we have a serious off-strip dining scene in Las Vegas. What's it been like watching other people, I don't want to say follow you, right, because I don't think they were all necessarily inspired by you, but time-wise, you know, you were right at the beginning of that wave. How's it felt watching other people jump on board?
I mean, being that I've been a Las Vegas local my whole life, I'm born and raised here. Back in the day, there were a handful of local restaurants. You had Nora's, you had Todd's, you had Rosemary's, you know, and so we were frequenters of those restaurants. So we learned what people, you know, did, Dalton and I. And then when I met Dalton, he moved here in 1998. And then I moved back to Vegas subsequently from 1999. And we spent most of our 20s traveling other places in the U.S., hitting brunch spots, hitting local restaurants in Seattle and San Francisco and L.A. and Portland, and places where we were like, what's missing in Vegas? And what was missing in Vegas was brunch. And that's where we started, really, was the idea that we needed a place that wasn't, you know, back in those days, you could still smoke in those like the outside inns or like, you know, PTs. Yeah, but there was a couple, you know, random places back in the day that were like breakfast spots. So we'd sit there in the dining room area, right, and the bar's just over there and they're smoking, and they're, you know, Dalton and I remember sitting at one of these places and we had breakfast and we were just having like French toast, and I look over, there's a family with kids sitting in there and there's no windows, it's dark on a Sunday morning, and I'm going, we need a place like we frequent in other cities, brunch, where you can get together with friends. There's natural light. That's not the Strip. And I think even at the time when we opened, there was really no brunch place on the Strip. There was buffets. There was champagne brunch at Bally's, right? There was not a whole lot of places that were doing brunch. And so that is why, for us, I mean, the location we first picked, which was, you know, old George Harris's restaurant on Fort Apache, it was out there. It was, you know, this area was still being built up, the Southwest. And so people were like, that's far. In fact, we were just talking about other food critics in town where they said it was too far away, and from various things. But I think for us, we've watched the dynamic of Vegas grow up, right? We've watched neighborhoods be built around, and obviously downtown Summerlin came after we did. So a lot of things started popping up. The local dining scene changed. I'm really happy. Wolfgang Puck came off the Strip. A number of chefs decided, and then obviously chefs that worked in the restaurants came off and did their own thing. So we love it. I mean, our menu's very unique, so everybody's had their own place. Jamie Tran, Black Sheep, everybody's had a different menu out there. So it's been kind of nice to watch that process happen. But we really don't get out as much as one would think we would. I mean, you see Dalton and I out in different places, but we'll have a little more time to go check out the local dining scene after April. Yeah.
I think you hit the nail on the head with brunch. A lot of people don't realize. I always say on the Strip, or even though it wasn't on the Strip, on the casinos, I credit Kerry Simon with that revolution. And off the Strip, I would say you guys were really at the cutting edge of that.
Yeah, I remember we went to his pajama brunch at the Palms place when they had, I don't know if it was called Simon's there. I think it was, yeah. And, you got the big vase of Fruit Loops and things like that. And people came in their pajamas. I mean, I love that. And we did pajama brunches, and obviously so many theme brunches. In fact, we just finished our last drag brunch with Frank Marino, and there was so much confetti all over this restaurant, which is probably a precursor of what's to come on April 6th outside in the courtyard, like Times Square on New Year's Eve out there.
I think another thing, the brunch, obviously a huge deal that you had a brunch. I don't know from being somebody who's not immersed in these scenes, but it seems to me also that for the LGBTQ community, DW Bistro was an early sort of gathering spot when, to my knowledge, there weren't a lot other than, down on Paradise Road in that area. And also for people who are into kind of show culture and theater culture. I know there were some late night hangouts, but I don't feel that there were like a brunchy kind of hangout for them. Do you feel that you were early on in giving both of those communities a place to hang?
That's so funny you say that, because we were just talking about that to a friend. A friend came over to our house for dinner, and Dalton and I were laughing because at the first location, if you remember it, even before we added that extra space, it was tight in there. And we used to get the Phantom of the Opera Jersey Boys group. So they would come, of course, they were a lot of them from New York, East Coast, or other cities where they had gathering places, right, for brunch. And so we would have, these tables reserved for them that would be like, what was always so funny about any crew that came in, whether it was a group of our LGBTQ plus friends on a Sunday morning coming to brag about their weekend and what was going on. It always started out with like a table of 4, and then it would expand to 6. Then by the time you realize it, they have the whole back room area for, all their friends. And it was at the time where we didn't take reservations at DW. So it was always, 2-hour waits, and you'd see, Vince Neil and Nick Cage and Scott Carrot Top at a table. That would not be unusual to see. And the parking lot would be packed. It would be us and Starbucks, and we'd still run out of parking in the entire shopping center on a Sunday morning.
Wow, amazing. What made you say after 15 years that the time has come?
I think you go through, in the restaurant business, you go through existential crises, right? So we opened in a recession. 2010 is right when, Obama got in office, and it was the tail end of a very bad, especially in Las Vegas, it was a very bad recession. So we opened at a time that was questionable. And again, like I had mentioned, we were far out in the valley. But we had a mission, we had an intention. And I remember saying to Dalton, I would like to see a line of people waiting to get in. And within 6 months, we had a line at brunch. And we were open for dinner as well. We really did a lot in the community of people who were very grateful to walk to some place for dinner. And we always had the thriving lunch crowd always. The business people followed us to the Gramercy. The Gramercy was its own challenge. Moving here, as you know, we talked about this early in the press that we were supposed to open a market, a DW market, like a food hall, but not really like a food hall you think, more like a market where you can buy DW in advance things, learn how to make turkey burgers in the back room at the cooking classes and things. So there was a little bit of that dream that never got realized. So we reopened just as DW. After our lease was up and our shopping center was sold, we moved into the Gramercy. And I think for us, we always look for the next challenge. So we've been doing this 15 years. I think we're ready to figure out what little break we're going to have and where we're going to reappear, if we're going to reappear, if it'll be more virtual. And Dalton and I'll show up at your house and teach you how to make the salmon bowl. I think for us, it's a myriad of things. I lost both my parents in 23. The restaurant was there to buoy me up. My parents were huge supporters of the restaurant. And then you went through COVID and post-COVID and anything else that goes on. The restaurants are the first line of defense. I always like what Rocco DeSpirito said was restaurants are nonprofit community centers. And with one restaurant, we did not set out to be, make so much money in DW Bistro. We set out to change the dynamic of the community for us. And like you just said, we were an inclusive restaurant. But I think this is like our second home, sometimes our first, because we're here a lot more than that. And I think over the years, you just decide how you want to spend the next part of your life. And, our lease was up here. It became a perfect time to still retain the brand and, let someone else's wings fly in the space. That's how we grew in old George, like I said, in George Harris's La Madonna space. We were lucky enough to get all of the things that were inside the restaurant. And some of them we still have. Light fixtures. There's some plates we still have after 15 years that are very heavy, that never break. So whoever inherits this space, it will be their next chance to, shine as a local restaurant.
So you have just put tickets on sale for your last hurrah. Can you tell me about that? And date, time, money, what's going to happen, everything.
Oh my gosh. I love a good party. We do our gospel brunch all the time. This is going to be a culmination of gospel music and almost like a little small, not Life is Beautiful, but there'll be music every half hour in the courtyard. So it's going to be a courtyard takeover of Gramercy. You'll still be able to get into the other restaurants in the area.
Wait, what's the date on this?
So this is Sunday, April 6th. That's the day of our 50th anniversary. But we figured we have to go out with brunch because that's what we're known for. So it's a big brunch party. It starts at 12 and ends when the sun goes down. There'll be a lot of food, a lot of booze, a lot of surprises, a lot of guests, a lot of singers, a lot of music, and then a very large ending when the time comes.
How do people get tickets for that?
DWBistro.com. There's a 150 is a GA ticket, and you get a featured cocktail, and you get all the food that's through all the booths as well, swag bag, and then there's a 250 VIP with meet and greet with me and Dalton Pictures, a glorified swag bag, a bottle of champagne, and the most fun you're ever going to have on a Sunday in April in Vegas.
Are you able to tell us some of the musicians who will be performing?
Well, there's always Sky D. Miles from Rose Rabbit Live fame over the years, who's always done our gospel brunches. She usually brings quite an assortment of great performers on the Strip. There'll be some other named guests who have been frequenters of the restaurant for a long time. They'll make appearances. Nothing I can share verbally this way, but I think people will be very happy about, and you know what, I think honestly it's the people that have been coming here for a long time. They've been asking me for weeks now, when is it going to go on sale, because they want to buy that ticket. They don't want to miss it. In fact, a lot of people here for Frank Marino's drag brunch on Sunday, they were already, I think the first person to buy was a friend who came to that. She's like, I'm buying the ticket as soon as they go on sale. People, they just want to come. And we, everyone's a VIP in our restaurant in the sense that they know me and Dalton for a long time, whether we had the restaurant or not. We really want to connect with our clients one last time in a big way.
And tickets available online through your website?
Yep, dwbistro.com. The tickets are right there. When you go on, you'll see the little picture of me and Dalton and the Gramercy in the background, and just click there for tickets and you go to buy.
Cool. Well, congratulations on 15 amazing years. Best of luck in whatever you do next, and thank you for all the great meals.
Al, thank you and Sue for coming in, and for all the years you've always been a huge supporter of the restaurant. Whether we were at Fort Apache or here at Gramercy, you've always been a huge supporter.
The news is next. This is Food and Loathing. By now you know about Neon Feast, the app that serves up Las Vegas restaurant recommendations, not from self-appointed influencers hustling for free meals or flame from disgruntled diners. Neon Feast gives you suggestions based on our conversations with Vegas restaurant pros, the chefs, managers, owners, writers, bloggers, and others who make this industry great. What kind of food do you want? What part of the valley? How much to spend? What's the occasion? Ask Neon Feast and get the answers. Also check for restaurant news and in-depth features at Neon News. We have you covered with the Neon Feast app and neonfeast.com. And for restaurant news you can use, neonnews.vegas.
It's time for the news. Other Mama recently celebrated its 10th anniversary. Here's chef owner Dan Krohmer talking about opening a restaurant on Durango Drive at a time when very few chefs were looking in that neighborhood.
The universe was in alignment for me at that time. I literally only lived here for a year at that time. I really liked this side of town. I personally felt the need for, a place where you could have cocktails and oysters and stuff like that. And it was just the right timing when the city was just really ready to embrace things happen off the Strip. As you know, as a journalist, people were looking to write about anything not in a casino for once, and all that kind of stuff. And the Golden Knights moving here, and just the whole city just kind of seemed to kind of have a growth spurt in general, just this kind of coming into its own identity and people enjoying their neighborhoods. And it was just really great timing. And, we've always had a great crew here, and these people live in this neighborhood are happy to have something that's mom and pop owned, that's singular. It's not just a second location as something, really remembering people's names and all that kind of stuff. But it's just been a whole blessing. So we've just been kind of leaning forward. We literally opened up the day after our liquor license cleared. Some dude walked in the door. I was like, "Why are you here?" Like, it was just weird. Like, we didn't do a grand opening. I didn't know you. I didn't know people in the scene. I remember like Nicole Brisson, chef. She was a customer when I was working at another sushi bar who just told me some cool purveyors to work with, and I was just learning about the city as I was, opening the place. And it's a cool town.
Yeah. What do you think looking around this neighborhood now compared to how it was then?
It's really cool. I'm starting to see a lot more authentic ethnic restaurants opening on this side of town. There's a new shabu shabu place. There's a Chinese hot pot spot going in this plaza. The Lau restaurant's amazing. The Zaytun's amazing. It's really a multicultural side of town. It's just about, you got to sometimes just open up the door of a place that has a shitty sign to see what they're doing in there and be like, "Oh man, you guys are making lavash from fresh, that's what's going, a bakery's going in there, and sometimes they're not at all the cool events, or they don't have a great Instagram account, or maybe their Google Maps is not set up correct, or whatever it is, or maybe English isn't their first language. But it's really cool to see this side of town mature. I don't think many people have the opportunity to live in a city that you can really see physically grow.
And big congratulations go out to Rob Moore, the former Prime Steakhouse chef, briefly operated Rosa Ristorante in Henderson before spending some time at Brezza in Resorts World. And he's now landed the assistant executive chef position for the Red Rock Resort.
Yeah, I got to see him over there. That was a big surprise. When
That
I
is
was at
so
Naxos,
cool.
Taverna,
I'm so happy for him.
And I was speaking to some people, and I thought, Rob is often there as a +1 of one of the people that, we hang out with at these meals. And I asked that person, "Where's Rob?" And I was told, "Don't worry, he's got some news for you." And he showed up in his chef's whites, and it was so cool to see him. So I was very happy. I told you last week about my experience at Bottiglia's Brunch Club at Green Valley Ranch. Well, I told you I would have more information on it, and I was recently able to speak to Click Hospitality's Morgan Basile, who explained what Brunch Club is all about.
Brunch Club is a combination of a bunch of really fun activations. We have live music, martini trees, local vendors, small businesses popping up in our lounge, and it's kind of female focused. You can grab all of your girls and come and grab 12 martinis all together.
And while I was there, I also got to speak with Chef Alessandro Capuano about the menu at Brunch Club, which was a bit of a challenge for the Italian-born chef.
In Italy, we're not huge about brunch, we don't mix a breakfast and lunch together. So when I first started, it was challenging to create something that was like on the Italian side. So our breakfast is cappuccino, cornetto, croissant, right? We don't do cappuccino after 10, so we don't do cappuccino with our meals. So I had to do all of this stuff, right? And I was able to do it. And like what I'm proud of, for example, is the avocado toast. Like in America, guacamole, it's huge, right? Avocado is huge. So I said, how do I make that with an Italian twist? So I thought about basil, parsley, and then, the acidity, instead of getting the lemons, then I said, all right, cilantro, I'll use parsley. The acidity, I'm going to use the vinegar. So I started using white vinegar from balsamic, aceto di balsamico. And then we did the sourdough Italian bread. And then I was like, all right, poached eggs, smoked salmon. And then I did the final touch with my favorite. I put this in as many dishes as I can. Cherry tomatoes with a bruschetta style. Garlic, oregano, basil, extra virgin olive oil, all high ingredients. Boom. nailed it down. So it's something very, very Italian.
What's been the most popular dish so far?
That is by far definitely pretty much everybody gets an avocado toast to start with. All the pastas, especially when we do like around the 12 o'clock. Everybody's all about bolognese, truffle tagliatelle, rigatoni alla vodka, and all that kind of stuff. So I want to say those are definitely the highest one. And the Italian breakfast sandwich, potato bun, prosciutto cotto, which is like the equivalent of American ham, sunny side up egg, 2 different sauces. We have a sangiovese aioli, a pesto aioli, and then instead of using bacon, because I know you guys like eggs and bacon, I use a speck, which is like a smoky prosciutto, and then we grill it, and then became like an Italian bacon. So you get your crunch, your eggs, your sauces, your potato bun, and then you have your breakfast potatoes.
Hey, there's a new lunch special at Atomic Golf located just north of the Strat. Here's Chef Robert Lomeli explaining what that's all about.
We're definitely trying to go ahead and get the eye of the local, the local businesses, right? So, of course, we want to go ahead and provide a business lunch, which is what we call it. For $25, you get an hour of gameplay, you get a soft drink, and, of course, you get one of our entrees. I created a small menu for that, which is including items from our regular menu. But by all means, they're filling, they're great. Again, great quality. So if you come here to have lunch, you're definitely going to leave happy. And why not? Play for an hour? Hey, that releases some of the stress,
Absolutely, man. So what are some of those entree choices you have with that special?
So some of those item choices that we do, of course, we do, we always have to have a salad. So we do our Caesar salad, which, by the way, we're about 95% scratch kitchen. Everything that we do here, it's homemade. So we make our own Caesar dressing, do all that stuff, Parmigiano Reggiano on it, everything like that. We also include the steak banh mi fries, which is a classic for us, which we did it from the opening, and it's been great. We do a 12-ounce Creekstone Farm, New York steak on it. Pickled vegetables, daikon, carrots, jalapenos, that everything is pickled in-house. We also offered, one of the brand new items is a short rib grilled cheese, which we take short ribs, braise them in red wine, do all that stuff, and then we make a grilled cheese out of it in beautiful sourdough from Bond Breads. Aged white cheddar, and we serve it with some of that, cooking, bracing liquid as the dipping. So we definitely have some really good items on that menu.
Something I saw just on one of the screens while I was here is that you have a boozy brunch Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Could you tell me a bit about what you're offering in the morning hours those days?
Oh, absolutely. The brunch is great. Again, we really wanted to capture some of the people around the neighborhood. With a really cool brunch. Not a huge menu. We got about 10, 12 items on there. But for example, I always loved, what do you call it, like country gravy, that kind of stuff. So we did a chicken and a biscuit. So we would take a chicken breast, bread it and fry it. We make our homemade buttermilk biscuits, country gravy, and just top it with a sunny side up egg. We also doing a really, really cool brunch burger, which is our double patty. By the way, double patty is not huge. Our patties are 4 ounces, so it's really nice and filling when you get the 8 ounces. American cheese, and we make a bacon onion jam in the house. And then, of course, we got to top it with the fried egg. And then, of course, my thing has always been Mexican food. So we did chilaquiles verdes in there that just really goes above and beyond with the flavor and the sauce and, just really, really cool. And, of course, really great quality cotija cheese. So, yeah, it's not a huge menu, but the items explain why it's a small menu, because it's just super solid.
And you can step into glitz and glamour as Gatsby's Cocktail Lounge, the award-winning lounge at Resorts World Las Vegas, celebrates the 100th anniversary of its namesake, pulling out all the stops for an unforgettable, over-the-top, one-night special edition of Return of the Gats, featuring decadence, glamour, revelry, and the timeless allure of the Roaring Twenties. Starting at 10 p.m. on Friday, April 11th, you can make reservations online at gatsbysvegas.com. And then I also found out beginning on Saturday, March 29, so by the time you hear this, it's started, you can enjoy recently introduced brunch fare at La Cave in the Wynn. And they have mini egg frittatas and brown sugar pecan waffles, artichoke salads and garbanzo beans. And then they have other additions like Vibrant Paloma made with Blanco tequila. They have Aperol Spritz, of course, rosé, various selections of wines. That's available on Saturday and Sundays from 9:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. You can get the over-the-top butler-style tray-passed brunch, which that just sounds fun. But also, I love that sort of garden-surrounded room that they have. They call it the Garden Lounge with floor-to-ceiling glass windows that open into the terrace. They have specials with all-you-can-eat for $54 per adult. And you
That
can
is like unfucking heard of.
Isn't that
on the
insane?
Strip.
It is so inexpensive for everything that they do at La Cave. It's amazing.
Yeah, I love the Cave. Great
Oh.
view, as you said. Also, it's run by Michael and Jenna Morton, who
It
are
is.
fantastic restaurateurs.
They are fabulous. And I also thought this was cool too. If you are a drinker, bottomless libations for an additional $34, and you can opt on to bottomless espresso martinis for an additional $16. So you can go in, have this amazing all-you-can-eat brunch in this beautiful setting, butler pass trays, and do the boozy thing if you feel like it, and you're still spending less than $100.
I'm actually looking at that. I think it comes to 104.
Oh, okay. 104
exactly,
if you get the
do that.
martinis.
Yes, if you get the martinis, right? Yeah.
So, I mean, but for strip brunch at a place like La Cave, I had to
No, it's
mention that one.
unfucking heard of, man.
Yeah.
I mean, and keep in mind, you're in Wynn, Las Vegas. Look, by far one of the more pricey restaurants in Las Vegas, because it is one of the most extravagant, gorgeous, beautiful restaurants. And people go there when they have fucking money. I don't think they would mind me telling you that, right? So, I mean, that's kind of their shtick is, you either go there because you have money or you pretend to have fucking money, one or the other. And if you were of my class, where you pretend to have fucking money, this is a goddamn way to do it, man.
It's amazing. So, yeah, I saw that come across my desk and I had to share that one because it's just too good. So again, that's Saturdays and Sundays, at least through April. They just started it, so go over there. And I think that's about it for us, guys.
I think we're going to set a record on time on this one, but records are made to be broken. So
that's with me bumping like a 15-minute interview to next week.
Thanks to all of our guests, Bryce Krausman, Elizabeth Blau, Nina Manchev, Lorena Garcia, Dan Krohmer, Bruce Bromberg, Alessandro Capuano, Morgan Basile, Mariena Mercer Boarini, and Michael Credico. I am Bryce. There we are. I'm
Too
Samantha
many people,
Gemini.
too many names. She ran out of space.
I didn't know who I was at that point. I'm Samantha Gemini Stevens with Rich Johnson and Al Mancini, wishing you good health, good eating, and hoping you always stay hungry.